am Markia Watts. I'm an agent with Keller Williams, and I'm on the Atlanta Property Professionals team.
And I'm John Serrano. I am also an agent at Keller Williams, and I am the team leader at the Atlanta Property Professionals.
And today we're going to talk about the home buying process, the selling process that our team provides to individuals when you choose us to be your real estate agents.
Thanks, Markia.
You're welcome. All right.
So why did you choose real estate? What, out of all the professions in the world and all the things you could possibly do with your life, you're so talented. Why did you lend your talents toward real estate?
So, surprisingly enough, when I went to college, I actually went to a leasing office. I never stayed on campus. I stayed in an apartment complex, and I went to a leasing office every single day asking for a package that I knew I didn't have. And I really wanted to work there. So starting off, my career was actually dental hygiene. And shortly, well, probably about 3 years afterwards, I really realized after working in the property management within departments, I was like, I think I really like business. And so immediately after graduation, I was able to land a job as an assistant property manager and then soon property management. So you get the gist. Pretty much property management, putting people into rentals. And it was a part of me that I was just like, these people aren't gaining any type of equity. I actually purchased my first home at the age of 24. So with me being young, not knowing what the process was, I was like, I think I want to go from putting people in rentals to actually having people go into home ownership because I've done it. I, wanted to know deeper about the process. And I actually really enjoyed the process when I was going through my home buying process. So my overall purpose of me wanting to choose real estate was to get people from renting and actually getting people to own. With me being 24 and purchasing my first property, within 6 years now, I've gained $150,000 worth of equity. And I want to be able to teach people how to do the same thing and just get people mindsets to think differently as to I'm not just putting money out as far as the down payment or closing costs. It's actually a investment. So what about you, John?
That's awesome. So like you, I think I was 23. I was 1 year ahead of you when I bought my first property. And it was an investment property. So the first home I owned wasn't the home that I lived in. It was actually an investment. And I started passion for real estate back then. The passion actually came earlier than that from watching my grandfather just talk about how he came to this country with not much in his pocket, and he was able to purchase a home. And I think one of the biggest sources of pride that he had was his home.
Yeah.
And it just instilled that passion in me.
Handyman.
Yeah.
Just seeing that.
And just he would sit out there and water his sidewalk in Brooklyn, New York, as people do in Brooklyn, and just enjoy talking about the process of how he built the home himself. With some help, obviously, and not figuratively, and just how much he enjoyed passing that on to his children as they went along too.
And it's something you said there. Well, is there more to your story first?
Keep going.
No.
What were you going to say?
No, because when you talk about, that's obviously generational wealth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we think about generational wealth and the mindset that goes to home ownership, and what is it like? 70% of Americans, like if you start to invest into homes, then that's the most type of wealth that you will be able to receive. So it's almost like you're behind the curve now if you don't own a piece of real estate, essentially.
That's right.
Would you agree to that?
I totally agree. And there's actually some figures that say that people who own homes have 30 times more net worth than people who don't own homes.
Right.
So it's a big factor in what you're building wealth for yourself and your family. And like you do bring up the good point. Building generational wealth is the home. So part of the home ownership piece is that you can leverage to buy more stuff, right? And it's now we started young in real estate by investing. We saw the value in that. You saw the value in that. Why do you think so many people don't start with home ownership as a way to grow generational wealth, or go through their whole lives owning maybe just one home or two homes, but never buy an investment property?
I think that most people are scared. Most people are scared, don't have the resources, and real estate is a wealth of knowledge, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So when you don't know what you don't know, it becomes very difficult for people to ask for advice, and it holds people back.
Yeah.
So like I said before, the first thing is identifying a real estate agent, because I personally feel like real estate agents are advisors. They're not just somebody to buy a home right then and there. It's to say, hey, I want to buy a home. Let's create a plan. And so when you don't have a plan and you don't know all the resources that you can do, like the BRRRR method or having an investment property, knowing about 1031 exchanges or hard money loans, or you don't have to put down 20%. Those are the things that prevent people from just saying, hey, I don't have to have $50,000 in order to put down on a property, or if I want to reinvest into a property, I can actually, and you own a property, how about you tap into the equity in order to use that in order to finance your investment property versus just letting the equity just build. Like, let's figure out how to refinance or do a HELOC in order to tap into the equity to get more properties.
You threw a lot out there.
I know. There's a lot of gems, right?
There were a lot of gems in there. So one of the ones I want to go back to is, so you mentioned the BRRRR method.
Yeah.
So would you explain to everybody what the BRRRR method is?
Yeah. So the BRRRR method is when you buy a property, you renovate the property, you rent the property, and then you repeat. And when you repeat, when you put a renter inside the property, you're like, okay, well, that means I have 2 mortgages. Well, surprise, the renter is actually paying for your mortgage on a monthly basis. So you're actually not having to, of course you want to save for, maintenance or something like that may happen.
Right.
But the overall goal is to have a renter to pretty much build your equity up over time. Because as we know, real estate is cyclical. What goes up goes down. What goes down is going to go up. And so when you hold on to that piece of property for a certain period of time, more than likely you will see your property start to double, which is why most people hold on to the property versus just flipping it, taking a quick profit, and moving on.
You mentioned the renter pays the mortgage. Right, so most people don't know that you're paying a mortgage if you're a renter.
Yeah,
you're paying somebody else's mortgage.
Even in apartments.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so even you have a massive apartment building that has hundreds and hundreds of units in it. Collectively, everybody together is paying off that unit for some investor that bought the big apartment building.
And real estate is cyclical, so thinking about the trends. Yeah,
so and the trends. Here we go with the trends. Right, over the past 100 years of record keeping from the National Board of Realtors, we've only seen real estate as a positive investment. Now, of course, there's times when it's gone down, but past time, if we got about 7 to 10 years.
7 to 10 years, that's the key right there.
Yeah, that it'll always increase. We've never had a time in history where somebody's gone by a 10-year period of time
and
where
their
they haven't
equity
gained
did not.
equity.
Yeah.
And those are pretty much national numbers.
And I think that goes into right now, interest rates are not as high. They're just not as low as 3%. But when they say marry the house and date the rate, that's exactly what that means. As professionals, we look at the trends and we understand that real estate is cyclical and values increase like every 7 to 10 years. So when we say that, the fact that home prices are increasing with 5.3%
at least
every single
especially
year.
Here in Atlanta.
Yeah, especially here in Atlanta, so much development happening. So with home prices increasing 5.3%, even last year when interest rates did start to creep up, it just lets you know that the property values are going up. Interest rates will go up, interest rates will go down. But if you refinance later and get a better rate and you can afford the monthly mortgage, I think that it's definitely worth it. Because if you say, okay, I'm just going to hold off until interest rates go up, we'll have the situation that happened in 2019 or 2020. Everybody wants 3% interest rates, but what happens when there's 3% interest rates? Inventory gets very scarce and prices jump up even more. And I know here in just, the metro Atlanta area, home equity grew 40 to 50% within that short period of time. And so if you have people that are just waiting, if you purchase now, you can be a part of your equity growing.
Absolutely. Versus
you just sitting back and now you're having to put in 15, 20 offers because There's nothing wrong with putting 3% down, but sometimes you can't compete as much if you're only putting down 3.5%. Versus if somebody sell their home, they get $200,000 worth of equity, and now they have money to play with. And so now they're saying, okay, yeah, I'll put $15,000 over. I'll put $20,000 over. And so, well, a question for you, John. Do you feel as though there's a crash that's going to happen?
There's absolutely not a crash.
Absolutely not.
Statistically, what's happening out there is that there's a generation of young folks, millennials coming up that have money, and they don't own homes, that want homes, and because they see the value of home ownership.
Yeah.
And what's stopping them is just a housing shortage. Across the country, a lot of builders have stopped building homes because of the past couple of years of inflation and what happened with COVID, with prices of lumber going way up. But they're gearing back up, and that process.
And I want to talk about the new construction too.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the new construction.
Yeah, so
they're gearing back up. This wave of new homeowners that are coming back into the market are going to cause prices to increase again because of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always going to be a supply of people that want to buy a home. So that's important. So what stops something from ever growing is when the demand stops.
When the demand stops.
Right. So the demand for home ownership is still going to be strong, even
right.
at 7% interest. You mentioned new construction, right? And when I just talked about new construction, you are the new construction expert on our team.
Yeah.
Right. Why should you use an agent to represent you at a new construction site versus just walking in and dealing with a friendly agent behind the counter?
Well, the number one reason is that as a new construction agent, they represent the builder. And so if you go into a new construction and you say, hey, I want to buy this home, and you say, I don't have an agent, then you're actually missing out on a representation for someone to have your best interest. And so when it comes to the home inspection, they may say, hey, you don't need a home inspection. We get the permits done. But I know me and you know that even when they get the permits done and they have their checklist, there's still at least 40 items that come up, maybe about 5 to 10, maybe, something that needs further details. But you definitely miss out on that representation of someone to have your best interest.
Right. And the people behind the counter at the builders, they're good people. They want to get you to closing, and they're not trying to do harm to you.
Yeah. And I love building relationships.
Absolutely.
I love building relationships with on-site agents so that if my client come in there, then I understand that they're going to say, hey, I'm glad that you have an agent. And actually, new construction agents are very happy when you have an agent that's representing you. It makes their job, honestly, a lot easier. So new construction developers, they're actually giving out the farm, I would say. So they're giving about $10,000 to $25,000 along with buying down the rate. And when I say buy down the rate, of course, people are like, oh my God, interest rates are high. They're actually average. But, compared to 3%, some builders are able to buy the rate down to 4.5, 4.99, 5.5. Regardless, it's less than 7%. So I'm actually working with a lot of first-time home buyers where that is a method of how to get my down payment lower so that I can actually be able to purchase a home. So new construction is actually a great way to, 1, build equity, and 2, have less money that you're bringing down to closing. 3, also being able to have a better interest rate without you having to pay to buy down the rate.
And 4, you have a brand new home.
And 4, you have a brand new home.
That's awesome.
Nobody's selling the toilets.
Awesome. So what do we say to folks that can't buy new construction or not an area where you can buy new construction and they have to buy a resale home? Do they have to bring 20% down and pay a massive interest rate? How do they get those incentives?
So if you want to purchase resale and you don't have 20% down, then it's actually programs that you, a conventional way of putting 3% down actually, or if it's FHA, which is federally funded, and you only have to put down 3.5%. And those are typically for first-time home buyers, and it's a great source of not having to bring so much money to the table. Other ways that we're able to decrease the amount that you can bring to closing is going to be seller-paid closing costs. So seller-paid closing costs is pretty much when you want to put an offer in on a home, and typically we want to see if it's on the market, at least maybe 10 days or so. We can go in and ask for it from the very beginning. But we like to be conservative, but we can ask for, $5,000 to $10,000. I think it's up to like 3%, 6%, up to, up to a certain percent that we can ask for seller paid closing costs, which is a great way to decrease the amount of money. We also have lenders that have down payment assistance that's paying 100% of the down payment. I have another lender that's paying, have a grant for $25,000 as well too. So if you would like to know more information about that grant, DM me the word grant and we'll be able to get you more information about the $25,000 grant as well too, or the Georgia Dream is also a great program as well. So yeah, there's definitely resources in order to bring limited amount of money to closing.
And the average buyer can still only put a little as 5% down in a conventional loan, or even less at some point.
Yeah, and they can bring 5% down. Wait to drink about. They could bring 5% down, but what if, somebody say, well, I have more. My personal recommendation will put more money towards your principal. Save your money, put more money towards your principal so that you can pay your mortgage off sooner. What do you think about that, John?
Absolutely. There's ways that you can apply extra mortgage payments. In some cases, I've seen on a $500,000 loan, if you just applied another $50
every month,
you can knock off the value of that loan by almost a third.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to get ahead, is by paying that extra.
Yeah.
Some people set it up so that they only pay one extra time during the year.
Yeah.
And just set that up. And a lot of mortgage companies actually have that in if you go to the setup in your system for auto pay, you can actually just set that up and you'll never even know, and it just goes out. Just make sure you have enough money in your account when it happens. And you could really knock down and build a lot of equity that way, because most of what you're paying up front is interest.
Yes.
So, and the interest is based on the actual loan amount. If you could knock down the loan amount, you're actually reducing the amount of interest you're paying over time.
Right.
You don't actually change your payments, but in the end, when you sell the home, you have a lot more equity. Or two, if you do live out the life of the mortgage, you can do it a lot faster, in some cases by a whole third.
Yeah. So I guess a good tip here would be, what if you can make one extra payment a month or a year, or if you can make one extra payment a quarter. If you pay one extra payment a quarter, it will make a tremendous difference within your total loan amount and how fast you can pay off a loan. Which brings me to the next point when we talk about what consists of a mortgage. So a lot of people, especially right now with interest rates being, a little bit higher, and most payments, even on a $400,000 home, is about $2,800. So it's like, well, what is included in this monthly payment? And so a lot of people think that it's just only the mortgage. So you actually have the mortgage, you have your taxes, and you have your insurance. And of course, because the home prices are going up in just, in particular the metro Atlanta area, it's actually causing for taxes to increase as well too. And so your mortgage may only be $1,900, and then you have a $400 tax bill, and then you're adding on maybe $180 per month for your homeowner's insurance. Those are the things that's actually comprised of what your mortgage consists of. And so when people say, oh, my mortgage payment is $2,800, I don't want to pay that. Your base mortgage is probably about $1,900 of that amount, or maybe $2,000. What do you have to say about that?
There's so many moving parts to understanding the process. You should never go it alone. You should always have representation by a great buyer's agent. And a great buyer's agent is going to know a lot of great lenders, and they're going to have vetted out lenders that know they're taking care of their clients along the way.
Yeah.
Their prices are good, and they get them to closing. So they can actually recommend, and we can actually recommend a lot of great lenders that we work with in order to get you through the process. And it is a process.
It is.
Right? So
it's probably about 80 to 150 different things that buyer's agents do that most people only see the closing happening.
Yeah, that's close to the number of, there are 88 types of turbulence. Yeah. Let me explain that.
Yeah.
So the 88 types of turbulence is something that we've kind of coined as a phrase, that there's 88 things that can go wrong in a real estate transaction. We've kind of we wrote them all down. We want to make sure that we're, with our expertise of selling over 1,000 homes in the past 9 years, that we've seen it all. And things still pop up. So that 88 number is probably still growing to this day, but it might be really near 120. But the turbulence that happens, what we tell our folks is that we're going to take you through that turbulence like a pilot would take you through turbulence.
Right.
So we're going to guide you through that whole thing. Number 17 might happen, and you may not ever know it because we took care of it.
So how important is it for an agent to communicate, especially on the selling side, of the things that could potentially go wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. It's vitally important. One of the things that we do with our clients is we'll always tell you what's next. You're never going to get off the phone call with us or a meeting where we're going to tell you where you not know what the next step is in the process and what's happening. And we're always guiding people through it. That's why we always when there are some people that try to do this on their own.
Right.
It's like it's such a tough thing. Some people are successful, but most are not.
Right. Or leave money on the table.
Absolutely, that's the most important part. That we always tell people we don't want to cost you any money. Our fees don't. We want to make you money. So by investing in an agent, you're going to actually end up with more money and with a smooth transaction in the end.
Right. And I think for that, and I am going to talk on FSBOs, for sale by owners.
Okay.
So with for sale by owners, most people think that they can do it by themselves, but just as John said, there's 88 different things that happen in the background, and most for sale by owners feel as though that if they do sell the home on their own, that they will be able to save money. When in reality, you're probably leaving money on the table. Yeah. And with getting with a professional, you'll be able to actually have a comp analysis of what's going on in the area outside of Zillow, the Zillow price. And if you have a strategy behind actually pricing the home and setting it at a desired price point, then you're more than likely going to get above the average where the commission will probably pay for itself, and you would be able to also profit just the amount of money that you're looking into. And one thing with for sale by owners, they actually fall out of contract a lot because you have unqualified buyers and don't know the red flags to look at whenever you are accepting offers, even though you may have an attorney on your side. But the attorney job is to get it to the closing table or to get it to close. So what about the 88 different things that happen within the turbulence that happens with you wanting to sell a home by yourself? So if you're thinking about selling a home by yourself, then call one of the Atlanta property professionals.
Yeah, just consult with us first. Look, everybody wants to save money, right? So that's why you would go it alone, right? Save on the commission and try to sell it on your own. But ultimately, like you said, it may cost you money in the end, right? So even if it's a break-even scenario when you net out, you might as well have an agent, or you should have an agent protecting your interests.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest investments. You want to be able to be advised accordingly.
Exactly.
So, John, when it comes to the selling process, tell us about what you do or what we do as agents on the Atlanta Property Professional, and how we make sure that the seller biggest asset is taken care of.
It's a great question. And I would say the first thing starts with our promise. And our promise that we make to anyone that comes, both buyer and seller, is that we're going to deliver 5-star service and you're going to have a great experience. Because we work off of referrals. We build our business off of you telling other people about us.
Yeah.
Right.
We want to make that impression.
We want to grow our business by you telling your friends and family to use us later. And unless we make the promise to deliver an unbelievable great service, you're not going to give us that referral.
Right.
Right. Why would you? You're right. You might tell your friends that, well, John did a good job. We want you to tell your friends John did a great job and he should be a realtor for life, right? Or Marquia or any of the members of our team. So it always starts with the promise.
Yeah. No, I agree 1,000%. I believe that in real estate, we are in a relationship building business. It's not about how many homes you can sell, but it's about how many different people you can touch at one time. And so once you realize that the sales will come and you're more so about how can I help this person, then your business is going to continue to grow.
Yeah, our business is not selling a product. The product or what we do sell is your dream to get into that home or your desire to sell a home. So we're so tied to that emotionally as well.
Right.
This is the reason why I love real estate so much that the end game product is happiness.
Right.
It's ultimately that we're selling is that you're happy that a home's sold at a great price. You're happy that you're in a new home. It's a great business to be in if you're a server, like I am, and like all our team members are. So we've surrounded ourselves, Marquis and I, with a team of people who like serve people.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about. And that's the difference between what we do and a lot of other realtors out there.
I agree. Because most people, like I said, are just in it for the money and not necessarily in it for the long term. And I think one thing that set us apart is after the closings, we keep in constant communication with our clients. I've had several text messages, phone calls. Hey, thank you just for not thinking about me after the closing. We invite people to events. We make sure that people change their batteries and their smoke detectors. Like we keep in constant contact with
you're
clients.
part of our family.
Yeah, you're part of our family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes it awesome.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about other factors about selling a home. So there are some big pieces in there, and one of them is marketing. One of them is getting the home prepared, staging it, and the third one is pricing. So which one do you think is the most important, or you think they're all about equal?
When it comes to the biggest asset that someone has protected for a certain period of time and they're putting your trust in you, I personally think that pricing is everything. Yeah. And I think it also depends on the type of market that you're in. I don't think that you can price homes the same way that you price homes 2 years ago versus what you price homes for now because of interest rate. I think that you have to find a real estate agent that understands the market and not what the neighbor down the neighbor down the street house sold for 3 months ago or 4 months ago.
Right.
So it's important to have that understanding and have the owner to have that understanding as well too, as to the different times that we go through literally on a weekly, monthly, annual basis in order for them to understand their equity.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest pitfalls that happens is when a home gets overpriced, you end up what's called chasing the market. So chasing the market is, for example, we've priced the home at $100,000 just to make an even number. And it should have been priced at $75,000. Right. So we'll advise people to, based on what the market is sitting and looking at a lot of different factors, where to price a home. But if you choose, and we see other agents overpricing a home in an area, and for example, again, with going back to the $100,000 when it should have been priced at $75,000. What happens when a home sits on the market for several weeks? What do you say as an agent? What are your clients
Well, what's wrong with this home?
What's wrong with it? It's been out. Everything else is
stale bread.
It's selling so fast. Yeah. What's wrong with it? Right. That's the first impression they have, and then they come back and they say, "Well, let's make a lower offer." Right. And what ends up happening after time? So we say time is acid to a listing.
Yeah.
So the longer it sits on the market, the lower the offers are going to come in. What'll happen is you'll go along the way, and then you might get an offer on that $75,000 home at $65,000.
65, right?
Because
Instead of pricing it right from the beginning.
And you could have priced it right in the beginning, in which you've called chase the market all the way back down because, hey, let's list it at 100, and then let's take $10,000 price drops along the way.
Right.
That's a bad strategy to take.
And I want to address the media, right? So I'm back to the drink.
I'll ask you what the media is saying. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to address.
Let me ask you. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff in the media about the real estate market is crashing and things are so wrong, right? If it leads, it bleeds. If it bleeds, it leads, right? That's
right.
What the media says. The real estate market is crashing. Things are going wrong with the real estate market. Homeownership's out of touch. They're delivering a bad message.
Right. I do want to address it because just like what we talked about with price reductions, I think that that's one of the things that the media take and run with it. As we said, 2019, 2020, people built so much equity just because of lower interest rates. And when it comes to, okay, homes are not selling for the full value, you do have people that overprice homes. So in a scenario where somebody priced a home at $100,000, but their home is really only valued at $75,000, but they bought the home for $30,000. Did they really lose?
Amen. Yeah.
You know, did they really lose, or did they overprice the home? And so that's the part that the media runs with, to say, oh, the homes are not selling. You know, people are losing equity. And in reality, the equity is not lost. The home was just not priced correctly. And so I think as agents, we have to do a justice to our clients by not just taking overpriced listings, because those are the things that causes, you know, a little chaos to say the market is going to crash. But essentially, like we stated before, most homeowners have anywhere between 40 to 60% worth of equity. And just because a home did not sell for the price that it listed for does not necessarily mean that the homeowner did not receive a good bit of equity. Yeah. So, what do you think about that, John?
So, using the term overpriced listing, right? So, of course, when I sell my house, I want to overprice it. I want to get more than what I could possibly think I could ever get for the home. But we all know that ultimately the price is set by the market. Yeah. It's not set by the realtor. It won't be set by me as the home seller. Even
and that does not mean that the homeowner has to accept the offer.
That's the other thing too. Exactly. Well, I just won't sell my home. If I can't get $2 million for my $200,000 home, then I'm not going to sell it, right? So the market sets the price, and it's up to a good real estate agent to help you find out what the market will bear. And then the other piece of this whole thing is what kind of investments can you put into your home? What kind of staging can you do? Yeah. And then what kind of marketing behind it can we get more people in there so that you possibly could get more than what the market would bear? Yeah. So,
all right, John. So tell us about our marketing strategy that we have.
So our marketing strategy starts with how do we get the most people through the door? And when we talk about marketing is our piece of what we do at Atlanta Property Professionals of getting your home out to the general public. Right. The biggest piece of where people find homes today is obviously the internet. Yeah. So we have to play
right at the fingertips.
We have to play big in there. Yeah. So we do retargeting ads first. That's our first big piece right there. Did you ever get chased around by an ad on Facebook or when you were out there and that keeps finding you? So if you happen to run across one of our listings, it's gonna chase you around until you come see it.
Yeah, I even see it on my social media feed. I'm like, oh, there we are.
Yeah, right. So we'll advertise your home across every platform that would possibly have a home. So there's actually over 150 different platforms where your home is going to get advertised. Nice. Right, not just the Zillow or Realtor.com. It's going to be everywhere. The other piece that we do with marketing is that we have over 4,000 buyers in our database. So we have because we have so much experience, so many people out there that we try to matchmake our buyers to your home. So sometimes we might be able to get you an offer before the home even hits the market. Yeah. Right. So that's
happened several times.
Many times for us too, and we make sure they're good offers too because we're representing you as the seller. Right. I think the other biggest piece is our relationship with the agents around Atlanta, and we can reach them directly, and we know through our systems agents that are searching for a specific property in a specific area, and we can reach out to that agent and just make sure that they're seeing our home.
Yeah, and we also have reverse prospecting. Absolutely. I think we do a really good job with with reverse prospecting when it comes to a listing. We can see all the agents that have maybe their clients set up on a home search. And so if they have their clients set up on a home search, then we know. We can send them emails, we can give them a call because it tells us all of their information. And Sometimes agents are not aware of what home searches their clients are on, so this will be a good reminder for some of the agents as well too. And we've got in contact with a few agents as well too to just say, hey, saw you had this home search set up. Are you or are your clients interested?
Yeah, and we hit the pavement too. We're going to do open houses.
Door knock,
exactly. So we door knock around your home. And what's that mean? We're going to go bug your neighbors and ask them if they know anybody.
Who do you want to be your neighbor?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times people know other people that want to move into the neighborhood. So that's another good source. Now, ultimately, that person may not be the homeowner of the property, but our goal, again, is to get the most people through the door. More people through the door in a more timely fashion gets you better offers. And then it's not just the price that makes a good offer. Why don't you talk about what makes a great offer?
The components of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen some. So components of a great offer is one going to be earnest money amount. The minimum amount of earnest money that you should have for an offer is going to be 1%. At least a minimum of 1%. Anything else is not necessarily as serious. 2 is going to be the due diligence period. The due diligence periods determine how many days are we going to keep this home off the market in order for you to get your inspections done and make sure that this home is going to be the best for your buyers. 7 days, 10 days is just way too long to keep a home off the market for due diligence. And then the last one's going to be the financing contingency. We want to see a strong financing contingency to make sure that this deal is not going to fall out. Some people put 21 days, but that you have to understand from a seller perspective, that's 21 days that the home is not on the market, that in 21 days, your seller can say, hey, your buyer can say, we're not going to go forward with this home. And now as a listing agent, we have to communicate that to our client to say, you know what, we accepted this offer, but however, they're protected by the financing contingency. So I think that those are the components of a great offer on the buyer side to give to a seller.
Awesome. I can't scratch my nose, sorry. All right, ask me about staging a home.
Okay. So John, what about, should we go into open houses before we go staging? Because open houses is part of marketing, right?
We just mentioned open houses. Do you want to talk more in depth about open houses? We talked about door knocking, open houses.
Yeah.
You kind of explained that.
Okay.
So
let's go into staging.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So John, tell me about staging. How do we stage a home for our clients?
Yeah, that's the third biggest component. We talked about pricing. We talked about marketing.
Yeah.
And staging is the other big component. And when we say staging, it's about creating an environment where a buyer can walk in to the home and see themselves living in the home.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we that's why we tell our folks to get ready, our sellers to get ready to list a home, and we give them an extensive list of things that we know work.
So what if you have someone that's living in the home, but they say, okay, yeah, I still want some type of staging. Like, we have a process for that, right?
Absolutely have a process, and we'll bring a stager into your home, and we could work with the property that you have already there, your own furniture, and just make it better. I've seen a stager come in and just say, let's twist the couch 90 degrees.
Or declutter.
Yeah. Well, that's the first piece, big piece of the whole thing, right? And then just making little tiny tweaks that a professional stager would look at a home, and all of a sudden you can open it up and make it look a lot different.
Right.
Right. So again, we want to have happen is a buyer walk into the home and see themselves living in that home.
Right.
Creating a very neutral environment, but also a warm and welcoming environment. So we certainly can advise you on how to get that done.
Nice. And with the staging, do we offer virtual staging?
It's a good question. What happens if you don't have any furniture in the house?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can actually virtually stage, put furniture in your home and see how it would look, along with the photographs of the home empty. Again, creating that vision of what a buyer would see if they walked into the home and wanted to live in that home.